my friend. There are moments in life when time itself speaks. When a person reaches the twilight of their days, signs begin to appear. Warnings, messages from eternity itself. You see, the Word of God does not leave us without understanding. It reveals the mysteries of life, and the final moments before the soul is called home. Life is a journey, and the human body is its vessel. From the moment we are born, we are given strength, first as an infant who learns to grasp, then as a child who runs without weariness, and finally as an adult who labors with vigor. But there comes a time when the strength we once took for granted begins to wane. It does not happen suddenly, but gradually, like the setting sun that dims before disappearing beyond the horizon. The Bible speaks of this process not as a mere biological occurrence, but as a profound spiritual sign, a signal that the days of a person's earthly sojourn are nearing their end. Here, the keepers of the house refer to the hands, the very instruments that once built and protected. They now tremble, unable to hold firm as they once did. The strong men are the legs which once carried a man boldly into his future, but now they bow, unable to sustain the weight they once bore. The grinders, representing the teeth, begin to fail, and the eyesight dims as the windows of the soul no longer see as they once did. This fading of strength is not a random event. It is a process woven into the fabric of creation, a divine whisper reminding us that time is passing and that eternity stands on the horizon. In the early years of life, strength is abundant. A child runs without growing weary. A young man works long hours without exhaustion. An adult builds his household with energy that seems endless. But as the years pass, there is a change. At first, it is barely noticeable. A little more fatigue at the end of the day, a slower pace when rising from a chair, a stiffness in the joints that was never there before. Then the body begins to speak louder. The once firm hands now struggle to hold objects without shaking. The legs, which once carried a person effortlessly through the streets, now require rest after short distances. Climbing stairs becomes a task rather than a reflex. The voice that once commanded attention with power now grows weaker, more fragile. Even the mind, once sharp and quick, begins to slow, struggling to recall names and memories that were once effortlessly retrieved. Throughout Scripture, the loss of strength has always been a marker of the nearing of the end. King David, once a mighty warrior, found himself unable to keep warm in his final days. 1 Kings 1:01. Moses, though blessed with undiminished vision and strength, still experienced the natural reality of life's ending. Deuteronomy 34:7. Even the mighty Samson, whose strength was legendary, eventually succumbed to weakness when God's appointed time had come. Increased fatigue, tasks that once required little effort now demand more rest. Sleep becomes deeper, longer, or more frequent, as if the body is slowly retreating from the physical world. Loss of mobility, the ability to move freely, diminishes. Walking becomes slower. Balance becomes uncertain, and assistance is required for tasks once done independently. There is a moment in life when the veil between the physical and the spiritual begins to thin. For those nearing the end of their earthly journey, a shift takes place, one that is both mysterious and undeniable. It is a heightened awareness, a deepening of perception beyond what the eyes can see and the ears can hear. The Bible speaks of this phenomenon, revealing that as a person approaches their final days, their soul becomes more attuned to the eternal. They begin to see, hear, and experience things that others do not. This increased spiritual awareness is not merely a product of old age or the imagination. It is a biblical sign, a divine whisper that the transition from the temporary to the eternal is drawing near. It is a preparation, a glimpse into what lies beyond, as the spirit begins to loosen its ties to the physical world. This passage reveals something profound, that the elderly in their later years will begin to dream dreams that are not ordinary. These are not the fleeting thoughts of the subconscious, but messages from beyond. Many elderly individuals, as they approach the end of their journey, begin to have vivid dreams of loved ones who have passed, of angels, of places they have never been, but somehow recognize. Some speak of seeing a great light, of hearing music that no earthly instrument can produce, of walking in fields of indescribable beauty. Others describe conversations with those who have gone before them as if they are being prepared for what is to come. These experiences are not random, they are scriptural. The prophets of old experienced them. Jacob in his later years received visions of God. Daniel in his old age saw glimpses of the end times. John in his exile on Patmos was shown the mysteries of eternity. This heightened awareness is not something that can be explained through logic alone. It is a spiritual reality, a moment when the elderly begin to see beyond the natural world. For many, there is a noticeable shift in their connection to God. An elderly person who once prayed occasionally may now find themselves in constant communion with the Lord. They wake in the middle of the night with an urgency to pray. They speak of feeling a presence around them, of sensing a nearness to God that is stronger than ever before. This is not imagination. In the final season of life, the distractions of the world fade away and the soul begins to focus on what truly matters. The worries of money, status, and success lose their grip. What remains is a hunger for God's presence, an unshakable awareness that He is near. There are moments when an elderly person simply knows that their time is drawing near. They may not be sick, they may not have received a diagnosis, but something within them shifts. They begin to speak in ways they never have before, expressing love more freely, offering wisdom as if they are giving their final words, making preparations as though they sense a transition coming. This is a biblical pattern. Before Jacob passed away, he gathered his sons and blessed them, speaking words that would shape their futures, Genesis 49. Before Moses departed, he spoke blessings over Israel, giving instructions for the days ahead, Deuteronomy 33. Before Paul left this world, he wrote to Timothy saying, "This is also evident in countless testimonies of those who in their last days suddenly begin to speak of angels in the room, of seeing a door or a light, of feeling the presence of the Lord in a way that cannot be explained." Those who witness these moments often describe a sense of awe, a realization that something sacred is taking place. A person experiencing increased spiritual awareness often feels an urgency to reconcile broken relationships. They seek out those they have not spoken to in years, offering forgiveness and asking for it in return. They bless their children and grandchildren, speaking words of wisdom and impartation as if passing a torch to the next generation. In biblical times, this was not seen as mere sentimentality. It was an act of divine importance. Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau. Jacob blessed his 12 sons. Simeon, an old man in the temple, spoke a prophetic blessing over the infant Jesus. These moments of impartation are not coincidences. They are the final acts of a soul preparing to step into eternity. As a person approaches the final stages of their earthly journey, something remarkable often takes place. A sudden and noticeable shift in their relationships. The connections they once held, the people they surrounded themselves with, the way they engage with loved ones. All of it begins to change. This is not a mere coincidence, nor is it simply the result of aging or physical decline. It is something deeper, something spiritual. It is as if the soul, sensing the nearness of eternity, begins to realign its priorities. This shift is not always the same for every person, but patterns emerge, patterns that are unmistakable and often profound. Some relationships deepen, becoming more intimate and meaningful, while others fade away, no longer carrying the weight they once did. Old wounds may suddenly be healed, long-held grudges released. And in some cases, A person may withdraw from social circles altogether. These changes are not accidental. They are part of the process of preparing the soul for its transition from the temporary to the eternal. One of the most common shifts in relationships before a person's passing is the sudden urgency to mend what was once broken. A father who has not spoken to his children in years may suddenly reach out, seeking reconciliation. A mother who has carried the pain of an unresolved conflict may find herself compelled to make peace. A friend who was once estranged may receive an unexpected visit or phone call. This is not simply nostalgia or regret. It is something more. It is the soul understanding that unfinished business must be settled, that the burdens of resentment and division cannot be carried into eternity. The Bible speaks of the importance of reconciliation. This verse reminds us that reconciliation is not optional, it is necessary. As a person nears the end of their life, they often sense this truth with greater clarity. They realize that pride, anger, and bitterness are no longer worth holding on to. They understand, perhaps for the first time, how fleeting life truly is. And they seek to leave this world with peace in their hearts. Just as some relationships are mended, others seem to fade away naturally. An elderly person who once thrived in social settings may suddenly withdraw, preferring solitude or the company of only a few trusted loved ones. Acquaintances and casual friendships may no longer hold the same importance. The person may stop attending gatherings they once enjoyed or may choose to spend more time in reflection rather than conversation. At first, this change may be difficult for others to understand. Friends and family may feel rejected or confused, wondering why their loved one is no longer as engaged as before. But this is not a rejection. It is a realignment. The soul begins to detach from the distractions of this world, turning its focus toward things that are eternal. The book of Ecclesiastes speaks of this. The relationships and connections that were once important for a season may no longer serve the same purpose. This is not out of neglect or disinterest, but out of an unspoken understanding that the person is preparing for something greater. It is not uncommon for elderly individuals to begin sharing stories from their past, offering wisdom and giving blessings to their children and grandchildren. They sense the importance of imparting something before they leave, ensuring that their legacy, whether spiritual, emotional, or practical, lives on. Jacob understood that his time was near, and he used his final days to strengthen the relationships that mattered most, imparting words of wisdom, direction, and blessing to those he loved. Another significant shift in relationships is the newfound urgency to speak the truth even when it may be difficult. A person nearing the end of their life often feels compelled to say what they have held back for years, to share their heart, to warn against mistakes, to offer final words of wisdom without fear of judgment. For those who are willing to listen, these final conversations can be life-changing. They are not casual words. They are the distillation of an entire lifetime of experience, spoken with the urgency of one who knows they will soon step into eternity. Perhaps the most striking shift in relationships is the way an elderly person begins to speak about their own departure. In the past, death may have been a subject avoided or feared, but now they speak of it with a quiet acceptance. They may begin to say things like, "I won't be here much longer," or "When I'm gone, I want you to remember this." This change is not morbid, it is natural. It is the understanding that this world is not their final home, that they are preparing to move on to something greater. Paul expressed this sentiment in his final letter. This shift in perspective often brings peace not only to the person but to those around them. While family and friends may struggle with the reality of losing their loved one, they can also take comfort in the fact that the person is at peace with what is to come. For most of life, people are occupied with the things of this world: work, responsibilities, relationships, ambitions. There is always something to do, something to build, something to achieve. But in the later years, especially as a person nears the threshold of eternity, a shift takes place. The things that once seemed so important begin to lose their grip. The urgency to chase after wealth, status, and temporary pleasures fades. A different kind of urgency takes its place, a longing for something beyond what this world can offer. What once felt so critical, accumulating possessions, proving oneself, gaining recognition, now feels empty. The soul begins to seek something greater, something eternal. This is why elderly individuals often talk about the past with a sense of nostalgia, but not because they wish to relive it. Rather, it is because they are beginning to see their life in its entirety, understanding that every moment was leading them somewhere. The journey was never about the temporary. It was always about preparing for the eternal. It is common for those in their final year of life to reminisce more than ever before. They recall moments from childhood, faces of loved ones long gone, and experiences that shaped them. But something else happens as well. Alongside memories of the past, they begin to sense glimpses of the future. Many speak of dreams and visions, moments where they see a light, hear a voice, or feel a presence that is beyond this world. Some describe encounters with loved ones who have already passed as if they are being prepared for what is to come. Others express an unshakable certainty that they are going home, not just metaphorically, but in a very real and spiritual sense. This is the deepened yearning that takes hold of a person's heart in their final days. It is not fear. It is not sadness. It is an awareness that their true home is not here, but in the presence of the one who created them. As this longing for home intensifies, a person often desires simplicity. The need for material possessions diminishes. They no longer seek to accumulate, but to release. Many begin to give away their belongings, not out of despair, but because they sense they no longer need them. They are preparing for a greater inheritance. This is why, in their last days, many elderly people prefer quiet over noise, stillness over busyness, reflection over distraction. They are not disengaging from life. They are becoming more attuned to the reality that lies ahead. Their soul is leaning toward eternity, and the things of this world no longer satisfy. This promise brings a deep peace to those who sense their time is drawing near. They no longer fear what is ahead because they know they are going to a place that has been prepared for them. As the yearning for home deepens, many feel compelled to leave behind something for those they love. Not just material things, but words of wisdom, encouragement, and blessing. They know their time is short, and they want to ensure that their family and friends carry forward the truth they have come to understand. In the Bible, this is a recurring pattern. Before Jacob passed away, he gathered his sons and blessed them, speaking over their lives and destinies, Genesis 49. Before Moses departed, he blessed the people of Israel, reminding them of God's faithfulness, Deuteronomy 33. Before Paul left this world, he wrote letters urging Timothy to remain strong in faith, chapter 2, verse 4. This is why many in their final days speak with such urgency. They do not waste words. They share what truly matters, knowing that these are the last moments they have to pass on the wisdom they have gained. As a person nears the end, they often experience a quiet detachment from the world, not out of bitterness or resignation, but out of a recognition that this life is not the end. The soul begins to let go, not in despair, but in anticipation. The heart releases its grip on earthly things and turns towards something greater. This is why many elderly individuals, even those who were once deeply engaged in worldly affairs, suddenly find themselves drawn to prayer, scripture, and spiritual reflection. They begin to hunger for truth in a way they never did before. They seek out moments of worship, desiring to be in the presence of God. This is the yearning, the deep, undeniable pull toward home. It is not just a hope or a wish. It is a certainty, a knowing that they are being drawn to something beyond this world. The journey they have walked, the trials they have endured, the joys they have experienced, all of it has been leading them to this moment. The moment when the soul is finally ready to go home. There are no accidents in the timing of life and death. The seasons of a person's journey on this earth are not random. They are orchestrated according to a divine plan. Throughout the scriptures, we see that time itself is not merely a function of human measurement, but a tool in the hands of God. There is a rhythm to the unfolding of events, a sacred order that reveals itself in the final days of a person's life. As an elderly person approaches the threshold of eternity, a mysterious pattern begins to emerge. Their departure often aligns with significant dates, biblical patterns, or divine appointments that in retrospect seem too precise to be coincidental. The timing of one's final moments often carries meaning, pointing to a higher purpose beyond what the natural eye can see. Just as no one chooses the hour of their birth, the moment of their departure is often beyond their control. And yet when we look back, we can see the fingerprints of God in the timing. Some people pass on significant dates, holy days, anniversaries, or moments of prophetic significance. Others leave this world at the completion of a cycle, at the closing of a chapter that seems divinely appointed. Moses lived 120 years, his life divided into 3 perfect sections of 40 years each, aligning with the biblical pattern of testing, preparation, and completion. Jesus fulfilled prophecy in the exact timing of his death on Passover, aligning with the sacrificial lamb of the Exodus. The apostles, too, met their end in ways that pointed to God's divine timing. As an elderly person approaches their final season, many begin to sense something changing. They may not know the exact hour, but they feel a shift in their spirit. Some begin to speak differently, as if they know their time is near. Others start preparing, giving instructions, setting things in order, even saying their goodbye. It is not uncommon to hear of individuals who, in their final days, seem to know that they will not be here much longer. Some express it through words, "I won't be here next year." Others reveal it in their actions, visiting loved ones one last time, making peace with old enemies, ensuring that everything is settled before they leave. Jacob knew his time was near, and he spent his final moments speaking prophetic blessings over his children. His words were not random. They were spoken in the timing of God, aligning with what was to come. Throughout history, there have been countless testimonies of people passing on meaningful days, birthdays, anniversaries, or biblical feast days. In Jewish tradition, it is said that righteous individuals often pass on the same day they were born or on a significant holy day, as if their time on earth has been completed according to divine order. In modern times, similar patterns appear. A grandmother passes on her wedding anniversary, a father breathes his last breath on the same day he gave his life to Christ years earlier, a minister, after preaching his final sermon, collapses and enters eternity as if his work had been completed at the exact appointed hour. These moments are not coincidence. They reveal the prophetic nature of time itself, just as Jesus was born in the fullness of time and died according to prophecy. So too do the lives of believers unfold within a sacred timeline that only God fully understands. As a person nears the end of their earthly journey, an urgency often arises. They sense that there is something left to do, something that must be completed before they leave. Some suddenly feel the need to write a letter, give a final word of encouragement, or settle unfinished matters. Others are drawn into deep prayer, as if they are interceding for things beyond their own life. Many elderly individuals experience a similar sense of completion. They no longer make long-term plans. They begin speaking as if their earthly journey is coming to a close. Some even seem to wait for a specific moment, holding on until a loved one arrives, until a prayer is answered, until a final word is spoken. Then, once their purpose is fulfilled, they let go. In those final moments, the veil between this world and eternity becomes thinner. Some experience visions, seeing glimpses of what is to come. Others begin speaking of those who have gone before them, as if they are already being welcomed into another realm. There is often a quiet peace, a stillness that surrounds them, as if heaven itself is drawing near. Many who are in their final moments express similar experiences: peaceful departures, encounters with angels, even the feeling of being called home. These are not hallucinations, they are glimpses into the fulfillment of prophetic timing. There is a mystery to the appointed time of one's departure. We do not always understand why some go sooner, while others remain longer. But one thing is certain: no life is cut short before its time, and no departure is without meaning. The book of Job tells us, in the final season of life, the signs become clear. Strength fades, spiritual awareness intensifies, relationships shift, a yearning for home deepens, and time aligns prophetically. These are not mere coincidences, but divine signals calling the soul toward eternity. The Bible reminds us that our days are numbered, and God's timing is sovereign. When these signs appear, they serve as a wake-up call, not only for the one departing, but for those left behind. It is a time for preparation, for reconciliation, and for embracing the eternal truth that this life is but a passage to our true and final home.